If you're just joining us, which you are because this is the beginning of the video, we are the Reef Beef Podcast. And what we do is we approximate what it's like to be talking to people after a trade show, Saturday night at the hotel lobby bar, where everyone is walking through and you're talking all kinds of crazy reef stuff. You're talking about stuff that's, run of the mill and how you found a way that you think is better than other people. You're talking about crazy stuff that you've done or read about. You're talking about how cool whatever the talk was you just saw or whatever the article you just read was. You're talking about your favorite animals. You're talking about how cool people are in the reef hobby. That's what this podcast is about. My name is Richard.
My name is Benjamin.
And this is the Reef Beef Podcast, where we talk about reef beef things. Today, we have some beef. We're going to be talking about some super glue uses, and we're going to talk about fish catching and popping the eye of a fish on purpose because it needed to be done. This is Reef Beef. What's up, Ben? You guys in Texas having another cold snap?
Well, I guess cold for Texas, but we're anticipating some giant storm tomorrow that all the weather channels have said, oh, tornadoes, but we'll see.
So you put on your warm clothes in preparation for tomorrow's storm?
Yeah, because it's like 50 degrees outside. So
okay. Well, that's what okay. See, you can understand my confusion because I said, is it cold there? And you said, no, we're waiting for a storm. And then you said, well, now it's cold. So
it's Houston cold. Houston cold.
Which
is not very cold.
What's going on in your reef world there, Ben? Ben, if you don't know, if you're new to this podcast, Ben has been doing this, has been doing aquarium maintenance since the Triassic. And he has lots of accounts in the greater Houston area. So that's what we're checking up to see what's going on. He's got tanks at home too.
Yeah, they're not very good looking. They're just to hold stuff.
Oh, dude, you got to believe in yourself. Flip that
They're
around.
the prettiest. Man, my clients wish they had tanks like I have in my house.
Too far, middle ground.
Okay. They're okay.
Better than that.
Okay, they're mildly fantastic.
My name is Ben, and they're holding tanks, but they look really good.
Yeah, and my name is Richard, and just whatever, man.
So did you go? Did you see any clients today or this week?
Well, God, I hope so. I got to earn money somehow.
Well, but yeah, me too.
So I cleaned one saltwater at the beginning of the day, and then two very large freshwaters. But the saltwater, I thought I'd talk about real fast because this guy has a 400-gallon saltwater tank, and it's sort of like halfway through his wall. So, obviously in his living room, he sees the tank. But then he has a small sort of room built out in his garage side. That's sort of like his place where he sits back there and chills, and it's attached to the garage. But anyways, when I clean the tank, it's so easy. So easy. I can't believe he pays me. But so we have a water mixing station that is plumbed into his sump, and he's got a big reef octopus skimmer. So literally I open his office door and open his garage, and he's on a really slanted garage. Well, I run a hose down his slanted garage, and I just wet skim, and I simultaneously, try to match the water coming in to what I'm wet skimming out. And I just sort of sit there and supervise that for like an hour. I do huge water changes on his tank just because I can. I'm not trying to figure out what it is exactly. So I do his whole barrel. It's like 65 gallons. Not that that's that huge of a water change, but every other week I do a 65-gallon water change on this by wet skimming, and it works really well. I don't have to move a whole lot of heavy stuff.
Although I want to stab you,
that's normal.
People who don't know, talk about wet skimming.
If they don't know, what the hell? So wet skimming can be taken a bunch of different ways. What I do is temporary wet skimming. So What I'll always do though is I'll turn off someone's ATO because I'm about to be fluctuating with the water level in their sump, and I don't want the ATO coming on or off. So I unplug it or disengage it, turn it off. And then so I make sure that whatever water I'm using is mixed to the correct salinity and is ready to go. And then I will start running the skimmer up high and having it sputter and, running over. But I'll try to provide a video for this because it's not running over too fast and it's not running over too slow.
No, capture all the cows that are running around in your brain, and in one sentence, that's all I was. What is wet skimming? Not how is it done, just what is it?
It's just running a skimmer super high temporarily for me to spit out some of the stuff.
Is it really super high? Just is it super high or is it high?
Middle of the road. Middle of the road. That you want to make the cup runneth over.
You make the skimming cup runneth over, and most of us who do wet skimming in any way have our skimmer collection cup. It's drilled out and it's got a pipe in it and it's connected to a bucket or goes straight to drain.
Oh,
so otherwise you're filling up a skim collection cup at a time, and that's going to make you insane.
No, sorry, I guess I left that part. I mean, almost all skimmers come with that drain nipple, but there's a lot of times where I see people don't even use it, or maybe some people don't even know it's there. But I always get a lead of silicone hose, and I put a little not micro ball valves, but those like two little fishies, small ball valves at the end. And so when I'm going to wet skim, I'll just open it up and let it go into whatever receptacle that I'm doing. Because, you can't. I wouldn't wet skim and sit there like taking a skimmer head on and off. I lead it through a line so I don't have to do any of that foolishness.
Yeah. And some of us have our skimmers already connected to a drain bucket. And so we just turn it up and let it go. Every time I clean my skimmer, I set the skim pump to 100%. It usually runs about 50%. And then I just get my bottle brush, my big, what is it? It's not even a bottle brush. It's a dish brush on a stick. And I get inside the neck and I just scrub it and let all the goo go right back into the skimmer because it's running 50% faster than it normally does. And it just comes right up and vomits up out of the cup and goes away.
When I do it, since Richard's system's like 400, normally the first thing I'll do is pull the skimmer cup off, go clean it, and then put it back on the skimmer, because I've found that if I used to do the bottle brush thing too, and it sort of sucks in and it blows it in back into the sump, the real concentrated chunks. On a smaller system, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, you got to turn it up. I mean, I've turned it up 50%. And if you don't do that, it's just going to pump out into your tank, which is probably fine too. But,
I had a mine story at once. I thought I could clean it as I was making it spit, and it would just absolutely push everything out. But it doesn't. It pulls stuff down and then starts spitting it out into the sump. And it's like, ugh.
My skimmer's pretty big too.
Yours is really big.
Like 35 inches tall, the body. So
you're a skimmist.
So it's got all that. So what would you do if you had a smaller skimmer? You turn it up so it's wet skimming, and then you wouldn't brush it all at once. You'd move around slowly so you don't put enough goo off of the skimmer plastic. You don't clean enough of that goo off to fall down so far and get pumped out. You clean just enough that it gets caught in the body and comes out. Or maybe it's just ridiculous and you just need a big ass skimmer to do it.
Oh, Benjamin.
saltwateraquarium.com. saltwateraquarium.com. We love saltwateraquarium.com, man.
We do. They have been with us since before we were even us. And that's like 50,000 years. So why do we like saltwateraquarium.com? They've got the 3 distribution centers, which means if I order something at 11, it ships at 1, and then I get it like a day and a half later, and it's perfect for me.
I like their reward system. They have rewards for creating an account. They have rewards for frequent buying. They have rewards for creating an account with them. Everything. It's crazy. Just order online with the mobile app. Here's the key thing is use our URL. down below when you order, so they know that you came from us.
Yeah. So even if the app is more convenient for you, don't use it. Don't use it. Use the URL down there. Let's look at a random product. Pick
Go.
1 through 1, 2, or 3.
2.
1, 2, 3, or 4.
2.
Control systems.
Oh, well, that's gonna be Neptune.
They got a lot of Neptune stuff you can get. There, see?
Probably some hydro stuff.
Every show will show you something random on the website that you could purchase.
They've got it. You just throw darts at a board. They got it.
Anyway, it's saltwateraquarium.com. Check them out when you get time because they got all the stuff.
Oh, Benjamin.
Hey, this is a good thing to throw in here. On our YouTube comments, someone was saying something weird, and I'm gonna bust them on it. So I shared on our Facebook page, a thing of cleaning a skimmer head, okay? And then someone said, oh, you have to clean those things, in the comments. And then there was someone that was thinking that you're supposed to make a skimmer head neck, like leave it a little dirty, because they thought it facilitated like pulling the proteins into the head. And I don't have any concrete data. I mean, I'm just going off of 25 years of doing this, but you don't want crap in the skimmer neck. You want to keep that as clean as you can.
I know where that comes from.
Really? I'd never heard anyone say that.
So when you get a new skimmer.
Well, okay, the plastic.
That's where this comes from. When you get a new skimmer, or when you clean the walls of your skimmer neck really, really, really well, your skimmer efficiency goes away.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't skim well. And it takes a little bit of time for whatever's on the skim neck, or not really what's on it, but it takes a little bit of time for some biofunk, just a little bit, to propagate and be all over the inside of that neck. At least this is the story, right? And it makes some kind of sense, right? It's like, when your windows are clean, they stay clean, but once they start to get dirty, they get dirty faster. So what that gets translated to, like a lot of things in our hobby, in every hobby, but our hobby is rife with them. Really, really rife with them. That turns into, well, I got to leave the skimmer neck dirty. And we have the specific instance to learn you something about skimmer necks and what they're going to do that gets translated into a general idea that just doesn't actually hold up. You clean. So whoever this was, clean your neck in 24 hours. Don't get at it with sandpaper or soap and water. Just, some kind of toothbrush or bristles on a stick. Clean it off and get big goo off. If it's covered in coralline, that can also do weird things to your skimmer efficiency too. So it does pay to keep it clean, but you don't have to have it as clean as you want to eat off the toilet seat clean,
That's why I can't, this is sort of a diverge, but that's why I can't stand when people have like refugiums, like lights under their tank, because, getting those skimmers where you got coralline all growing and like half of it, I cannot stand that.
Yeah, we at the academy, there's a lot of stuff where I used to work. There's a lot of back of house stuff and a lot of light. And we would, or at least Matt and I would, like wrap our skimmers in vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
So no light gets into there. The other thing that's nice about cleaning a skimmer, I just did it here for the first time. I can't believe I didn't think of it before. But basically you turn off you close the valves to and from the skimmer, right? And you just let it recirculate. And you drain it as much as you want, and you pour a bunch of citric acid or vinegar right into it. Yeah. And you just let it run. And then it gets squeaky clean. Then you just drain it and fill it up again from the tank.
And that would be good too. As long as you got to be careful and you put some forethought into it. You don't want that leaking into the system, but as long as you can close off, that would be good for the needle wheel impeller and the venturi intake and all that any of the citric acid would touch.
Yeah, and my skimmer is external to the sump, so I'm really not worried about it. So you gotta, I don't know if I would, any of the ones that would be in place that you have like a uniseal on. I
Mhm.
don't know if I would, feel
Trust it too
comfortable
much.
doing that. I'd probably pull it out, but then I'd throw that in a bucket and just let it sit instead of actually scrubbing it. Meh, 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 meh. I like to be lazy. I like to clean it in place. And like you said, it cleans everything. And it was like, wow, this is great. And when you have a big skimmer, because you generally don't take them apart that often because they're big,
Oh.
stuff does end up getting caught in there. So if I take it apart once a year, and find a chunk of an air stone or whatever that's been sitting in there, it feels good. Oh, and today I went down under the house and my skimmer was it was fighting to get air.
Uh-oh. Clogged? The
Yeah,
Venturi
just
clogged?
the intake was clogged, was
Okay.
getting clogged. So all I did was take my RO line. I have an extra RO line. I turned it on, jammed it up into my skimmer's weird. It's got like a smokestack for an intake. So I jammed it up into there and sealed it with my hand so it was sucking the water in, and it cleaned it
Like
up
a
in a minute.
catheter, like a protein skimmer catheter.
Yeah, except I'd have to drill it to get it from the top. It's got an end cap and a pipe, so there's a U.
Oh, okay.
So I had to kind of just seal it with my finger so it would suck enough to pull all the water in, but it cleaned it really quick.
Man, when I was a zookeeper at the Houston Zoo, we had a 12-foot tall RK2 skimmer. And I remember one time that I worked there, only one time, because those RK2 skimmers, they have like 50,000 nylon bolts around the head. And I went and cleaned it, and it wasn't even really that dirty. I just wanted to say that I had done it, but I think my fingers were bleeding after I was done with that.
And you know what? Those skimmers are so efficient that it doesn't matter if you ever clean them or not. Oh, I mean, so inefficient.
Oh, I was about to say, are you being facetious?
Facetious, that's a big word for an 8-year-old.
I know, an 8-year-old Texan. What's going on with you?
I'm just getting ready for spawning. We're in spawn watch mode now.
Spawn watch.
And yeah, that's what's going on. The other thing we're going to talk about is main is in another section of the podcast. But yep, spawn watch. I lost a coral. One of the new corals started to run yesterday. I woke up and like a good third to half of it was RTN'd.
Wow.
So I pulled it out and I was like, okay, you're dead. I'm not keeping you in this tank, right? You got to go. There's 11 more. This is why I try to buy it. When I do it this way, I do as many as I can. And so you can check to see if the coral has eggs. It's a destructive check. You break off a branch and then you look on the coral itself or on the edge of the branch with a microscope or something that makes things appear closer than they are. And actually they are that close. You just want it blown up because your eyes are not good at that level. And you look for eggs. So this colony I pulled out had no eggs in it, and I broke like 5 branches. And I was like, I don't like this. This makes me nervous.
Maybe it just checked out because it knew it was a spawning party, and he was like, "Oh,
I'm pretty sure that is what happened." So I cracked another egg. I cracked a different colony,
like a totally healthy one."
Yeah, to look at a branch, and it was full of eggs. So I was like, "Woo, okay!" And they're all deliciously pink. So that's good. I didn't break the hyacinthus. I was talking about the A-mill. The hyacinthus from the 2020 spawn, so I'm getting the F2 here. Last month they had white eggs, so they should have pink eggs now, and I didn't crack them because I'm a chicken. I'm a big chicken.
And it can't be like a small branch, right? It has to be like it has to be a decent branch.
I used to say that too. And then when I was checking, when we were collecting them several times in Palau, I would get, because you could swim down on snorkel, break off a branch with your pliers, and then come up, and I had like a little magnifier that I would look. It made it really easy to know. But I found that, on these wild colonies, you could get a tiny branch.
Really?
From somewhere near the center of the colony is where we did it.
But then again, like, what is the diameter of an acroporid egg, and are they really variable?
Well, the egg bundles that we're talking about, they come out of the polyp mouth.
Yeah.
So they're that big. So if the branch is
Like a
quarter
BB?
inch long.
Like
So
a
yeah,
BB? Yeah.
it's destructive and we don't really know enough, and it makes me really nervous to crack. I don't crack. I've never liked to crack unless there's a compelling reason for me to check.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to stress anything out.
No, they might decide not to spawn because you
Yeah, that's what I don't like. So, I also had to replace. I had a pump go bad, a wave pump.
a gyre?
It still works. No, a wave, but it doesn't.
Oh.
It doesn't want to do like a fast pulse.
Huh.
It does something weird, so I swapped it out. But it's still good for like a mixing bucket or just a constant flow.
I wonder if
Anyway.
that was just the impeller or the
No, there's something weird
electricals.
in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it. Sometimes all these electronical things. Sometimes weird stuff happens, right?
Oh, Benjamin.
Champion lighting and supply.
Woohoo!
That's Todd Krunkle.
Only Todd.
That's
It's
only
just Todd. It's just Todd in a big giant building.
I love Todd. We Todd. This has got nothing to do with Champion Lighting, but Todd and I talked about the Reef Beef product we may be coming out with.
Oh, do it.
Because why not again talk about something I can't give any details about?
Such a loser. Look, Champion Lighting and Supply is so good for me because that's one of the main places I get wholesale through them. There's a $400 minimum order, and I get a lot of my non-heavy items from them. I get the heavy stuff locally, but if you're a maintenance company, a store, anything like that, hit them up for a wholesale account.
Yeah, I think Champion Lighting is what everyone thinks all vendors in this industry are like. Like people who actually keep reefs, who love it, who are researching it all the time, reading and listening and writing, getting all the info they can all the time, and bringing it into their store and into their online store and sharing that with people. So they're the real deal, man. And
they're the champions.
They're the champions of lighting and supply.
All supplies.
So get there and write that you like them, and then they'll say put a bit of honey in your
Tell
order.
them a joke.
Send them pictures of your fish nudes. Nudes.
Thank you, Champion Lighting and Supply.
Oh, Benjamin.
Right here on my right is my rack for spawning. So I've got too many corals now in the lab tanks proper. I need space to do the work. I need space for the embryos to mature, and then I need space for the larvae to have a place to settle. So I set up this double-decker shelf, and it's got two of these 30-gallon bins that are only filled 6 or 8 inches in it, right? And they're going to work out great. I do love having these here. I went to this, I come home from the store, from the fish store, with snails and corals and whatever, and I just drop it in here.
But it's not quarantine, right? Because it's attached to your system.
It's not quarantine, but it's a place where I can just put stuff. So if I dip the stuff, I rinse it, and then I put it in here. I don't have to mess with my tanks.
But it feeds back into your system?
It does.
Okay.
So it's not quarantine, but it's a place. It's really convenient just to ditch your stuff in there. And I got these corals, but now that I'm home, all this stuff has to happen at home that's got nothing to do with this. I just put the corals in here and they're fine.
Man, that reminds me because, when I'm out doing my thing, often I'm taking clippings of customer stuff. And I totally get what you're saying, because no matter how much we're into this or not, sometimes I come home, I set the bucket down and I'm like, Ben, go put those away.
Right.
And the kids want food, or I sit down and look at social media, and it's like, yeah, if I could just have an easy thing there, I put you away, done.
Right. And then tomorrow you wake up in the morning and you glue them up. Right.
Yeah.
You could do that. You probably have space to put a small tank for that. Sanjay on this 500-gallon, he's got a coast to coast overflow on the back, and he made it. It's like 10 inches tall and 6 inches deep. And it's just and he would just frag right into it. And it's great because there's enough flow in there that the mucus gets pulled away, and it's just great.
It's a tank inside of a tank.
I'm absolutely doing that if my tank ever explodes in the front room.
I'm taking notes.
Or I have $1 bajillion fall out of the sky for me.
It'll happen. And remember your buddies. Remember us little people.
That's right. I will send you a plastic tub, if I get
Oh,
a
wow.
bajillion dollars.
Exactly what I wanted.
So this is what happened. My tank is a coral tank, not a fish tank, my display, right?
Damn right.
Catching fish out of it can be very traumatic to the
All
corals
right.
in the tank. Because there's just no space to get a trap in there, really,
Just
effectively.
break stuff.
So this is a Bellis.
Yes, Genacanthus.
Yeah.
That was
I
my
got this
first guess.
fish probably about 4 years ago from Jess, who used to live here, but she's now in Texas. And
Good choice.
They're one of the humble fishermen's.
Oh, okay.
Really great person. I'm sad they left. I enjoyed having lunch with them. And the fish got Popeye,
Oh, wow.
right? And I'm looking at what's going on in the tank, and I'm pretty sure that it's aggression that has, made this rear its head. The potters and the Bellis, and even the Coral Beauty and the Bellis, and even the Tang and the Bellis face off all the time. So I'm figuring that it's an aggression thing. I'm not worried about a pathogen, blinding all of my fish. And the fish is eating, everything's doing just fine. And I kind of get all Star Trek on it. And, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And I go, I just don't have it in me to take out a bunch of corals to catch this fish over a week, because that's how long it's going to take to catch the fish. I'm just going to let it ride. So I let it ride for about 2 months. And then I was like, I don't like this. Now I'm starting to feel bad. This is not going into remission.
Yeah, and the eye just stayed popped.
The eye just stayed all puffed up, right?
Woo.
And I'm going, what am I going to do if I catch this fish? Where am I going to put it? I'm going to have to set up a thing for it. Oh, I got these tubs. I just throw it in this tub.
Yeah,
Okay.
Recoup.
And then I was under the house, and I usually like that big aquametic fish trap with the angled door that slides down. It's really heavy. And I got to remove that much a square foot of coral to be able to get it in the tank, to just get it in.
Knowing your tank, that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to break part of your tank doing that.
So I found under the house a little trap, a little square trap. I think it's an ice cap trap. And I was able to set that up and put that in the tank in such a way that it was really just sitting on 2 corals, not really even, just a tiny bit. And I had it kind of clamped to the center brace, and the flow was not dragging it around. So it stayed there. So I was like, great. So I set it up so I could do the door. And I had this set up differently than I normally do. I had it set up with the door of the trap facing the front of the tank.
Okay.
Usually it's sideways to the front of the tank, right? I think based on my N of 1, having the door be facing the front of the tank might be a superior way to catch a fish.
Huh.
Because when they go in, they are looking not at you.
Okay.
Right? They are looking that direction, the back of the tank, where nothing's going to change, and they don't get distracted. The way I actually caught this fish, I caught it on day 3, right? Day 1, I got some food in there, and it went right in, and I didn't pull the trigger, right? That happens sometimes.
Did you not pull the trigger just because you wanted to really get it comfortable?
I wasn't sure it was all the way in, and if you pull the trigger at that point,
you spook them,
and you screw it up, you take the trap out and wait a week, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to do that. So, and then the next day I got some more food in and was getting it to come close, and other fish were going in. And then the third day I got some live brine, and I caught the fish within 3 minutes of putting live brine in there.
Wow.
It went in and went all the way in, and I didn't even pull the cable. I didn't pull the line to make the door slam or push the line, really. I just reached up and pushed the door closed.
Really?
Because the fish is looking away from me.
Yeah.
Fish got no idea I was standing there. Now,
Just tapped him on the shoulder.
that said, it's a fucking Geocanthus. They're almost always first in the trap anyway, and they don't
They're
care.
curious.
But 3 days is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
And then I knew I got probably a week I could keep the fish in here if I needed to, right? Because if I put the fish in any of the other lab tanks, I'm gonna have to catch it.
Yeah.
And that'll be a nightmare. Or I'll have to set up a tank floating in the sump or something like that.
Yeah.
So
how's his eye?
well, his eye was pretty full. Let's see. I've got some video here.
Are you gonna screen share?
So yeah, you go, what are you gonna do with this now, right? So I could treat the eye, which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna treat it with OA.
Oh, the oxalic acid?
Yeah, because I had a Vanderbilt's chromis that had some pop eye that went into there was no way I was going to catch that fish, right? And that went into remission when I dosed the whole tank. So well, I'll probably do that, but it depends on what happens. The other thing you do is you can get a hypodermic needle.
Ugh.
And you can lance the back of the eye to let the gas out because it's gas inside.
I couldn't do that.
Right? You'll see.
I'd be afraid I would hit the wrong thing.
Well, I'll tell you, Ben, it's not terrifying.
I mean, unless I could see like but that's just so weird. I wouldn't know whether it was like swelling or gas trapped or what.
Well, here, can you see this image right here?
I sure can.
Okay, check this out.
Oh, wow.
Okay, this is video, by the way.
Oh.
So you can see that the eye has got like, it's protruding, and then it's got this bag on the side of it as well.
That bag thing is not something I've ever seen before.
Yeah, that's gas, and I could see that it was gas. I'm not sure if anywhere else in here you can tell.
He looks like he's having fun.
Well, I'm holding them down, so I'll just play this video. If you are squeamish, and Snowman, if you feel the need to, you block this out. You don't let anyone see this. You put a big square over it. But I've dealt with fish for a long time. I know I could get the fish immobile. I know I just have to prick that eye to get it to go. I don't have to go very deep. And it's very obvious. It's way easier to deflate the eye than it is to deflate a swim bladder. So here we go.
Between you and me, I'm more freaked out over your wrinkly fingers.
My fingers are sexy, man.
Those are sexy wrinkles. Oh, he struggled. And then you pulled him out of the water. Man, that's some nasty damage there on his eye.
Watch. There we go.
Oh, needle goes in. Popping it. You are crazy.
And that was it, right? It didn't even go in very far.
Oh, and then he's thrashing with you. The needle's still staying there. That's
no, the needle pulls away.
Okay.
So look how fat it is.
Oh, it did.
Right? And then it deflates. And there was some in there. There was still some more gas in there, and I actually kind of held him and kind of just pressed gently around his eye, and more gas came out.
And I put
him in here, and he's eating, and the eye has not reinflated. It's still a little swollen, but it's not crazy. So there you go.
But let me ask you, is OA a known?
No, but the reason he's in here is so I can watch him and see what he's doing. I can put him in OA. I'll just put him in a bucket and treat him in OA with, air bubbles, with an air bubbler in the water bath overnight. I don't need to dose anything crazy, but I want to see, if this was an aggression related injury, it should heal up on its own now that I've gotten the ick out. And if it doesn't, I'll treat it. And if the OA and the fish is fine, if the fish was in distress, real distress, or wasn't eating, then I would take bigger action, but the fish doesn't care.
Well, yeah, he seems to be swimming around healthily.
Oh yeah. He was, after all that trauma, he went and he hid for about half an hour, and then he was out swimming and eating. So
his eye probably feels at least somewhat better.
Right. So, this is the kind of thing when we start talking about new hobbyists doing quarantine, that makes me shudder a little bit.
Oh yeah.
This made me shudder to do it. This made you shudder to think about it. Can you imagine never having dealt with fish before, really, and then trying to find a hypodermic needle in the first place, and then trying to pop the fish's eye?
I'm imagining being grabbed by your wrinkly fingers.
That'll happen, baby.
That's nightmare time.
Yeah. So that's what I did yesterday, and it was very exciting.
I wish him luck.
Me too. I think it's going to be fine. I will probably have to. Well, I probably have a few more days before I get a spawn, so I can observe him. I can treat him tomorrow. I'll probably treat him tomorrow, and then keep observing him, and then I'll put him in probably this tank down here.
Oh, Benjamin.
PolypLab does whatever a PolypLab spins a lab to a tree. PolypLab, you and me, look out. We love PolypLab.
In the still of the night.
Oh, the song continues.
Okay. Oh yeah. I know all 4 verses. PolypLab. We are powered by PolypLab. Today in the PolypLab spotlight are the Genesis blocks.
Yep.
Now these are biomedia. They're very dense and they don't break at all. And they're very compact. And that makes them great for several things. And their form factor is just a nice flat square. You can tuck them behind anything in the corners of your tank. You can put them underneath rocks. You put them all kinds of places. You can put them in your sub. You can put them in your overflow. They just fit kind of everywhere. In one of the tanks behind me where I'm raising the coral, the baby acropora, I've made like little huts out of these for the fish.
Oh, so cool.
Instead of having live rock in there, this is just easier. And the coolest thing about these is if somebody needs something, if somebody is starting up a tank, and they want to inoculate their tank with the goo from my tank.
You did that.
Yeah, for Hod did that, and I sent him one of these.
You talked to him. Algae. Yeah, he even got coralline algae going from it.
So it's small, it's compact, it ships easy, and it seems to do the job it says it's going to do. So PolypLab.
Powered by PolypLab.
Oh, Benjamin.
All right, so Ben, tell me about Aiptasia. You did something with Aiptasia?
So, I mean, this is going to come off as obvious to some people, but I was gluing some frags into a client's tank, and when you get Aiptasia that comes out horizontal or under something where you couldn't easily dump something like Aiptasia on them, and so I was like, damn it, and I was like, you know what, I squirted a bunch of super glue on my finger, and I just first I did though is I tapped it to get it to shrink down and sort of retreat to its hole.
Yeah.
And then I just encased it up with super glue, like even, beyond where he was a little bit, because, obviously it's like what we've preached a lot of times is if you see a pest, do something about it because it's not going to get any better. But now that was about a month ago. And every time I go back to that tank once a week, I've been, looking real close. It was 2 Aiptasias that I did that to. And I think, and a lot of people watching this is like, oh man, I've been doing that for 10 years, and that's cool. But I sort of think that there's lots of people out there that hadn't considered doing that, just encasing it in super glue. Again, especially these Aiptasias that are presenting out in a way that you couldn't easily kill them otherwise.
I've been thinking a lot about why stuff becomes what it becomes in the hobby. And smothering is a great tool for pests, right? And smothering works great for Aiptasia, except for when it doesn't, right? So you super glue up for the Aiptasia, and the Aiptasia can get out the other side of the hole.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I was worried about.
So people get weird about that. And what I've been thinking is we keep looking for a cure, and there's no cure.
For Aiptasia?
Yeah, there's for almost any of the stuff we deal with. I think the idea of looking for a way to solve it is fun and interesting, but is also at the same time, it screws us up. Because instead of going, I've got this suite of tools to deal with Aiptasia, we're constantly trying to get the one thing that's going to fix the problem. And there isn't. yet.
And it's like fleas on your cats and dogs. You're not, I mean, unless you got it figured out, but you're not going to say my dog will never have fleas. Like, it's just a thing that you deal with seasonally. And Aiptasia, if you clean a tank for long enough, like I've said, I've had client tanks for like 10, 12, 15 years. If you clean or keep a tank for long enough, you will see things like Aiptasia. They're not, it's like a common cold. It doesn't just go away. Like, you may be lucky for a few years and, like to say, oh, I have no Aiptasia in my system. You'll eventually get a little Aiptasia.
Yeah. And if you've got a lot, it's not about, I think we still, it could be just me. Maybe I'm the only one and this is so stupid. It's got this idea of, a set and forget tank. And they're just not,
Oh, no.
There's an Aiptasia, every once in a while, you got to do stuff. And, Aiptasia, you can get ahead of, but you can't just put, the magic elixir in the tank and then it's gone. It's,
well, and it's like what we alluded to in an older show where we said, if you're sitting in a room and part of the room starts to catch on fire, well, get the fuck up and go put it out, because it's not going to get better.
Right.
Do something about it.
Right. And you may throw a blanket on it and then go get water because you need a couple different tools to get it under control.
Yeah, there could be, well, if we're going down that analogy, like, there could be different ways to put out different, is it an oil fire? Is it so yeah, there's just different tools for different pests. But when know what pests you should be looking for and have several different strategies for dealing with them. And when you notice them, don't get it next week. Like, if you can do something about it as soon as possible, it's not going to get better.
It's different tools for the same pest that I'm going after.
Yeah.
And I like the idea. I want to just add, if you just see an Aiptasia, you don't have to stick your hands in the tank right then and do something about it. Wait till you have 3 or 4 things to do in the tank and, a week or so, and then do them all at once rather than putting your hands in the tank every day.
Well, the easy way is when you get Aiptasia coming vertically out of a rock. That's when you can smother them with something like Aiptasia.
Yeah.
What's the pain in the ass is when they're coming out the side. So if you put Aiptasia on that, it just sloughs off and you can't get them. Or, Neptune forbid that it's like growing underneath something where there's no way you could squirt anything.
Right. Then you need a totally different tool, which is what I've been working on. But I guess the back of my brain is hoping that one of these things will be, a fabulous cure-all, but it's all for different situations, right? And if you don't have super glue, you don't need to use super glue. You can use any putty, epoxy putty or that plastic that you put in hot water.
Yeah.
That
Seachem makes some of that.
Yeah. Well, or you just buy the stuff from the hobby store. There's all kinds of ways to do things. And so let us know what the weirdest or strangest or most off base thing you've done to deal with a pest, so we can all learn from what you did, and our toolbox becomes much more effective. So let us know in the comments.
Man, remember back in the days when people would inject lemon juice into Aiptasia?
Yeah.
I always thought that was dumb. I've never seen that be successful.
I never saw enough compelling applications of that made me think it works more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because then it was like, well, I did it and it didn't work. Well, did you heat up the lemon juice? And it was like, and then it was, muriatic acid, inject them with 10%. And it's all tools that can all work, but nothing is surefire. It's just not.
The super glue sure worked for me. At least, we'll see.
Yeah.
An experiment like that, I think it really bears out. I want another couple months and just to look at those areas and just say, like, man, ever since I did that, I've not seen an Aiptasia since then. So that's when I'll.
And if sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. Just like Aiptasia, I think people get this idea that this should work, and it's like, it may not work. You may have to go back several times.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you have to do Aiptasia several times to the same Aiptasia.
Yeah. There's no freaking lamp you can rub and ask the genie to get rid of your Aiptasia. We talked about Trident calibration solution and how I thought it was weird that people don't trust it, but I'm not seeing any reason why they don't trust it, except for the idea that they don't trust it because, you know, they tested it with their Billy Joe tester and it's different. And so therefore this is wrong. There's another thing that I read about that I do that I didn't realize people might not know about. When you people get upset because their Tridents, they think it doesn't calibrate and it doesn't hold the calibration. Well, there's a couple of things going on. A Trident is a delicate precision instrument, right? The Trident is not your big ham-fisted hand dropping drops into a dropper. It's not that. It's got very, very thin tubing and very, very precise valves, right? And so much so that you're not supposed to change the length of the intake tubing or the effluent tubing.
Because I've heard of people doing that a lot.
Yeah, but if you might get, if you don't put any back pressure on the effluent, like if you take that little tube and put it into a bigger tube, you're probably fine. If you cut the sample line, the line going from your tank to the Trident, it's gonna not work right because it's getting a different volume of water than it has been built to use. Now, one of the things that the directions tell you to do when you're calibrating is to make sure, and the directions are great on Apex because you go into the tasks and it tells you what to do every step. So you see the instructions every time. If you do it that way. If you don't do it that way, well, you may be screwing it up by not realizing that you need to do this one part. And it tells you to make sure that vertically you've got your sample bottle of calibration solution. It should be within 6 inches of the height of where the intake is in your tank. And if it's not, if you just put it down on the floor and now the pump is sucking up an extra 24 inches that it wasn't sucking up when it's doing the test, it's not getting the same amounts of fluids that it expects in the same way.
These are the little things that turn into user error.
Right. And because they're complicated, or they're complicated seeming, they skip a step and don't realize, oh, what would it matter if it was up 4 inches? You know,
well, and and I hate to say this, but this is that thing that engineers say, RTFM, read the fucking manual.
Right. And this is not a this is a precision instrument. You know, this isn't a pump with an impeller that you could stick a screwdriver in and get it to spin. This is a delicate little device.
I did that today.
When you get delicate little devices, you kind of pay attention to what they say and you do it how it's supposed to be done, right? At least that's what I do. So yeah, I just wanted to add to that. If you're calibrating and you're not putting your calibration solution near the same level as your intake, that may be why your numbers aren't what you think they should be.
Well, yeah, and what if people out there, what you were saying, weren't you talking about the intake suction little hose?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't want it that long, and they clip it, and they don't realize that you've now affect the, can I say, precision of what it's drawing?
Right.
You know, it just, again, RTFM, you know.
Yeah, you've changed everything. Now, I don't know, you know.
And then you go to the interwebs and say, this thing sucks.
Right, right.
And your bottle's on the other side of the room, and you clip the intake tube to 2 inches.
Right. Right. It's like complicated things have directions for a reason. And if you start not doing what the directions say, and then you're getting upset that the device is working differently, there's no one can help you because you've done it this weird way. And so nothing can happen. So that's Rich's tip of the day.
The devil's in the details.
Is put it at the right level. And I've never had a real issue with it. So maybe that's why.
You're one of the first ever users of it, though.
I am. And I just did what they said from the very beginning. And that's why, they've got the swap out kit, and it's like, I'm just going to swap it out. I don't want to, this is a precision instrument. I don't want to dick with it, because if it goes wrong, I got to dick with it again.
Yeah.
So no, let them, they do it all the time. It's, I'm go for it, DIYers. I guess, what do I want to say? That I was talking about this with Telegram the other day, that I was never so happy as when I was able to buy things rather than build them for aquariums.
Well, yeah, because for the longest time, if you've been doing this for a long time, a lot of us have been built on DIY, and it's fun and everything, but sometimes you want them to just have something figured out.
Right. And when they figure it out and they tell you what to do, and then you do it differently. Like if you go, oh, well, I know it says 10 mil in my Hannah checker, but I put in 12 mil. It can't make that much. It's like, you've just done, and it's the same kind of thing. It's a testing device. Supposedly they've worked out how it works. So just do what they say.
Or your refractometer, like, I didn't clean the slide before I put a new drop on it, but what does it matter? Hey, my salinity's off. Okay.
So interesting. Because this hobby, you can shoot from the hip and have great results in some areas, and some other areas you just do what they tell you. Shut up and just do what they tell you.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Shut up and do what they tell you.
Remember that old episode we had, though? Shut up, baby.
Shut up, baby.
And that's, I'll just want to add one more short thing is, DIY is fun, but when it comes to DIY on something that's a precision instrument, I don't feel like that should have DIY involved in it.
It can, if that's your gig. What I get worried about is people who are told that the hobby is easy and you should get into the hobby and you can do it all yourself. And then they get a Trident and they start trying to screw around with that, and they just don't have, they don't have the scaffolding underneath them to be able to do that kind of DIY. It's, there's a lot going on in this hobby, and a lot you can screw up.
Yeah.
So
it's like raising a baby,
but I love DIY, for, people who want to build their own LEDs.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Build your own LEDs. Look, I built all this. None of this spawning system.
And it's so good.
Is you are such an asshole. None of, I don't know who's ever made this before, but I made it. And it's temporary, and it's set up in the way it's supposed to be. And actually you'd like it. But it's it's got to move. So it's not, and it's not permanent.
Isn't it on a wheeled cart?
Yeah, it's on wheels.
Yeah.
So I have to slide it out of the way.
Tank on wheels. I've always wanted that. You could put a leash on it and walk it down the street.
Sometimes I just put I'm gonna put this Geocanthus in a cup tomorrow and take it for a walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Introduce it to the feral cats.
Show it how close to death it could be.
Hey, that's the end of the show. That's it.
Man.
That's it. We're done.
If you made it this far watching the show, first of all, I want to thank you for having the patience and the intestinal fortitude for sticking with us and watching these shenanigans. And hey, if it's not too much to ask, hit the like and subscribe, and what's that bell thing to let you know when other videos, and hey, get in deep. And if you're listening to this on like a podcast thing, whatever platform that is, Spotify, Apple, whatever, man, click the button things. If it's stars, give us all the stars. If it's circles, I don't know, just give us the maximum of the things that you can hit. And we appreciate that, because that it messes with the algorithms and lets other people know that we're here in this Reef Beef corner waiting to be seen and listened to.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for doing all the things Ben just said. And thanks to saltwateraquarium.com. Thanks to Champion Lighting and Supply. And thanks to being powered by PolypLab. And thanks to the beefers who are out there doing all the stuff that makes this channel worth us having, which is listening and watching and sharing. We really dig it. And remember, like Ben Johnson says, get in deep.
Actually, I'm a weirdo. I'm just a funky old refractometer.
But we're not smiling, so I don't want to start until we start smiling, because otherwise we'll just be dicks.
I'm always a dick, even when I'm smiling.
That's not true. You're often just kind of an asshole.
Often, just kind of an asshole.
Just kind of
A first class asshole.
checking
Reporting for
in.
duty.
Right on. Yeah, we had rain here today, which almost never happens. Why did
Really?
this light go out?
Welcome to your rain.
This light should not have gone out. There we go. I don't think it matters though, but that's okay.
That's the rain.
What everything's changing in the lab. I redid all the electrical today and I'm trying to figure out where
Wait,
everything goes.
the lighting is good on you.
Thank you. It's getting there. It's almost there's a couple more things that may not happen till March because things aren't available, but who cares? Oh, I got to go check something. I'll be right back.
Is it a Genacanthus?
I'll let you try to figure it out.
All right, I'm waiting for it to swim by, but it's really poor quality. So I'm just trying to get, I thought it was a Genacanthus angel, but it is just not showing up for, oh, it's so close. I can't, maybe it's an Antheus. Sort of hard to tell. All of a sudden, Richard just thought it was important that he ditch the show. And we've been waiting 105 episodes for this, for Richard to just fuck off. Oh, shit, there he is. Okay, never mind.
I fucked off. That wasn't the package I'm expecting. That was another package. Okay, so.
Andromeda Strain. That's a good movie.
Good call. Those poor monkeys, man.
I know. And that lady with epilepsy that was staring at the red light.
Yeah. Well, she deserved it.
Yeah. You can't stare at red lights.
Yeah.
Kids, you got to know that. If you see a flashing red light, don't stare at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a urine sample?
No, it's kombucha.
Kombucha?
Homemade kombucha. But I drank it all, so I was rubbing to see if a genie would come out of the bottle. No dice. No dice.
I'm going to check for spawn right now.
Yeah.
Why don't you hang out just in case it's very exciting?
What if you get so excited and you fall down and bump your crown?
Alexa, turn off focus light.
Oh.
It's going to be dark.
Spooky. Richard, we can't even see you. You're a ghost in the machine. Oh, you have a red flashlight. Oh, no, the light's red above it. Oh, that's cool. Is that just a red LED? The red spectrum. The red planet.
I don't see any setting, but the polyps look different.
Hopefully they're going to eject little eggs.
You look different, but I could be full of shit. Nope, nothing.
Nothing? Nada?
Nothing exciting.
We tried.